Let's look at this question on linear equations. Write the equation of the line whose x-intercept is 6 and y-intercept is -3 in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. So let's look at the question. We're given the x-intercept. So I'm going to write that x-intercept, that's 6. I'm going to write that as coordinates. So that's going to be 6, 0. So that's either 6 or 6, 0 if I want to write that as coordinates. So that's going to be 6, 0. And the y-intercept is -3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as the slope-intercept form to help us solve the question, and then at the end convert that to the standard form. So let's write the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. In this form, we know m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So in this equation, I can replace the b with the value that's given, which is -3, which is already given in the question. So y equals mx, and instead of b, I'm going to be using -3. So let's rewrite that with the negative sign multiplied, mx minus 3. Now, I need a point so that I can substitute that into this equation and find what the slope is. I do know a point that's on the line, which is the x-intercept, which is 6, 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute 6, 0 into the above equation. Let's do that. So y is 0, so I'm going to change that to 0. And m is what I'm trying to find. X is 6 and -3. So let's solve this. So 6m minus 3 is 0. So I'm going to write that. 6m minus 3 is 0. I have to isolate m so that I can find what the value of m is. So 6m equals, when the -3 moves to the other side of the equation, it's going to be +3. So m is equal to, I have to divide both sides by 6. 3 divided by 6 is going to be half. So now we know the value of m. Let's substitute that into the equation that we already wrote. Y equals, m is going to be replaced by half x minus 3. But we are not done yet, since the question is asking us to write the equation in the standard form. So let's change this around so that it is in the standard form. So what we need to do is, we cannot have a denominator. We need to get rid of this 2. So I'm going to be multiplying the whole equation by 2 to get rid of the 2 in the denominator. So let's do that. Multiply the equation by 2. So that's going to give me, on the left side of the equation, it is going to give me 2y. And for the terms on the right side, half times 2 is going to be 1. So that's x minus 3 times 2 is 6. Now I have to rearrange it so that it is in the standard form. So that I need the x term first. So x, when I move the other side, when I move 2y to the other side of the equation, is going to be -2y. And -6 was already on the side of the x, so that's going to be -6 equals 0. Now, if we want to compare the equation that we have just wrote to what we are asked to find, which is ax plus b, so a is going to be 1 because that's the value in front of x, which we really usually don't write. B is going to be -2, that's going to be the value in front of y, and c is the constant, which is -6. So we have changed the equation. We have found the equation of the line whose x-intercept is 6 and y-intercept is -3 in the standard form. Let's look at these two questions on linear equations. The first one, determine the slope and y-intercept of the line whose equation is negative 7x plus 8y minus 16 equals 0. So the equation here is given in the standard form, and we have to change it into the slope-intercept form so that we can give the answers of the slope and y-intercept of the line. So let's see what we have to do. So let's write the equation again. Negative 7x plus 8y minus 16 equals 0. Now the only thing that we have to do is isolate y so that we can write that in slope-intercept form. So except for the y term, I'm going to be moving all the terms to the right side of the equation, which is going to be, so 8y, negative 7x, when I move it to the other side of the equation, it's going to be positive 7x, and negative 16 is going to become positive 16. Now I have to isolate y, so I have to move this 8 over to the other side of the equation. So when it's getting multiplied on this side, when I move it to the other side, it's going to be division. So I'm going to have to divide each of the terms on the other side by 8. Let's do that. 16 by 8. So that's going to be y equals 7 over 8x plus 16 divided by 8 would be 2. So that's done. So we have rearranged the equation so that it's in y equals mx plus b form, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Now, since we are asked for the slope and y-intercept, I'm going to be writing the slope is equal to 7 over 8. Because this is going to be my m and that's going to be my b. And the y-intercept is equal to 2. So that would be the answer to that, to the first question. Let's look at the second question. Express the equation negative 9x plus 3y plus 12 equals 0 in the form y equals mx plus b. So here we just have to rearrange it so that it's in the y slope-intercept form, and that's it. So let's quickly do that. So let me write the equation again. I'm going to be following the same steps that I followed in the first question. I'm going to isolate y. So except for the y term, I'm going to be moving all the terms to the right side of the equation. Negative 9x, when it moves to the other side of the equation, is going to be positive 9x, and positive 12 is going to become negative 12. Now I have to isolate y. 3y equals 9x minus 12. So I'm going to divide the whole equation by 3 because it's getting multiplied here. When it moved to the other side of the equation, it's going to be the opposite operation, which is division. So y equals 9 divided by 3, that's x, minus 12 divided by 3. 9 divided by 3 is a whole number, that's 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times, 3x. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now we have rearranged this equation, which was in standard form, in y equals mx plus b form. Y equals mx plus b. We already looked at that. So that's going to be y equals negative 3x minus 4. So the slope would be 3 and the y-intercept is negative 4.